folks, and welcome to Pinal Prep Spotlight, brought to you by 911 Air Repair, your local air conditioning experts specializing in maintenance, repair, and new installations. We are kicking off our spring sports season, and as we typically do with our early season stuff, we're just kind of going to give you guys our predictions on our baseball season here in Pinal County. And so far, teams are just kind of kicking off their regular season. A lot of them competed in those preseason tournaments just all around across the state. And we got a bit of a chance to see a couple of these teams. David, just what are you expecting from our baseball teams this year?
Yeah, well, for me, I kind of have at least one prediction and one question I'm going to put in. My prediction is going to be that the 2A Santa Cruz Valley Union Dust Devils make it to the playoffs this year. They were able to get into the play-in round last year, just missed out on a chance at the playoffs for the first time in a really long time. We've seen them for a while now. This team has had some better days in the previous years, but those better days are finally here now with this group that they have. I think it all starts and stops with Daniel Contreras. This guy is an absolute lights-out pitcher for them. His bat is coming around a little bit more this year than we've seen so far in the last few games, and they have a solid core. It's not just one guy that's kind of making the team run. They have a really well-rounded ball club here. Guys like Jonathan Ramos, their catcher, their backstop, he's been really solid for them so far since his tenure. And this team is just a good group of guys that are really trying to prove themselves, and that's going to be my prediction for them going forward. I really think that this is the start of the come up for Santa Cruz baseball, because it has been a long time since this team has been competitive, and now it's finally here. They're finally getting these guys to buy into what they're trying to do out there, and I really like to see it. I think they can definitely make some noise in 2A if everything goes their way, and they just have to continue to do better on pitching and defense, get some bats going a little bit more, and they'll be just fine. So I like what they're doing so far, and I think they have a good chance of making the playoffs. And then less of a prediction and more of a question is just, where does Poston Butte end up? I think Poston Butte has kind of been one of the top tier teams for us so far when it comes to baseball, and we've always kind of sung their praises so far. But I feel like it's a little bit of a question mark this year. They still obviously have really good talent in guys like Jordan Toohey and Cord Baker, who are going to take over those big roles. But I mean, it seems like every year we talk about them, it's always like, how do they come back from a senior group that is now leaving, especially after coming off of a great season from Connor Lopez last year. He did a really good job for them, and it's going to come down to finding the right guys that are going to continue to move this team forward. And I think they have those guys. I think that this is still, again, one of the more well-rounded teams that we have in Pinal County. So it's going to come down to how they can continue to elevate themselves. It seems like it's always been an uphill battle for them when it comes to getting towards the end of the season and getting into the playoffs. They kind of face some of these stronger teams out of maybe Gilbert or Chandler, and they kind of get a little tough times coming. But I think they can still try to cement themselves and find their placing in 4A. And I think it's going to just come down to who those guys are going to be that are going to step up for them.
I feel like we kind of have a wide spectrum here with our baseball teams. We have those cemented playoff contenders like Poston Butte, Vista Grande, Florence, and then we also then we move on to those teams that are there but are kind of looking to take that next step. Santan Foothills, CG Union, Santa Cruz, just to name a few, and we have those other teams that are just on the cusp of being a playoff contender and having a great season like Maricopa. And then we have the end of the spectrum where those teams are just kind of just going with the motions and having a fun time, like some of our 2A schools, Sequoia Pathway, and not a 2A school, but Combs, Apache Junction. They kind of struggled in those past couple of years, and might kind of continue to struggle this year, although they are just trying to build that foundation right now with different coaches and players and everything. My thoughts is we got to talk about Vista Grande. Vista Grande is kind of that team that is always there but can't really seem to find a way to get over that hump. Last year, hitting was kind of a down point for them. So far this season, they are 1-3, but those 3 losses are just by 1 run, and they've been against some competitive teams, which is saying a lot. Unfortunately for them, they are in possibly the weakest region in the 4A conference, in Black Canyon, going up against AJ, Cortez, Coronado, and all those other schools. But the bright side here is they still have pitching. They have Sebastian Hidrogo for his final season. Aiden Montiel has done a fantastic job of backing him up. The only question is, hey, can they get their bats going? Because these games right now are critical. Like I mentioned, that region, the rest of the season, it's nothing but regions games. I think they're going to win out easily. But then how does that help you prepare for the playoffs when you're facing these non-competitive teams? I would have liked to see their scheduling kind of mixed up a little more, have these tough tougher matchups towards the end. That way they're more prepared with, the velocity changes and everything going into those playoff games. But hey, we'll see how this season turns out. Kind of a dark horse for me this season is Maricopa. Maricopa is on that brink of turning things around. They have done a fantastic job the past couple of years, and a big reason for that is Cody Gallardo. He has been phenomenal for the Rams so far in just their couple of games. He's already up to 12 hits, 10 RBIs. He's their ace on the mound, and this is a really fun and exciting team that we really need to keep our eye on. David, overall, anything else you want to add about the season?
Well, yeah, one more thing about Vista Grande. Look out towards later the season where we see El Tornagant go onto the field for the Spartans. El Tornagant was the quarterback for Casa Grande Union and a member of their baseball team. He is now traded in his Cougar blue and gold or blue and yellow, I should say, for the Vista Grande gold and black. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does for them. Another team that is kind of my dark horse this year is ALA Ironwood. They come in with a new head coach. Started the season hot right now with a 2-0 record, and I think they're going to be another team that we look out for. Just like in the basketball season, their region is stacked. Florence is in there, Santan Foothills, 2 playoff teams from last year. Valley Christian, who went undefeated, Gilbert Christian. It's going to be another just kind of minefield for them to try to get out of there. But if this new coach is able to acclimate and get this team to buy into what he's trying to do, it could be another team that we have to look out for. So a lot of talent for baseball here. We're going to have to kind of keep our eyes open on everybody and just see how it shakes out towards the end of the year.
That does it for this episode of Pinal Prep Spotlight. Be sure to tune in next week when we talk about my sport, softball.